All right. So for a lot of us, Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's one of those shows, right? It really kind of sticks with you.
Oh, yeah,
It's
definitely.
just such a classic piece of animation and storytelling, and I know I'm really excited for this new movie coming up. So we're going to do a deep dive today and
Yeah,
just kind of get into everything we know so far.
absolutely.
We've got a couple sources here.
Yeah.
We've got a YouTube transcript from kinocheck.com.
Okay.
And then we've got another excerpt here titled, it looks like Von Bunduk Dan. So
Interesting.
we'll see what we can pull out of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're basically going to try to piece together, like, what is this new movie going to be about?
Yeah.
What do we know about it? What can we speculate on? So that's the mission for today.
Sounds good.
One of the first things that really jumps out at me is that this is not a reboot.
Right.
This is not a reimagining.
No.
This is a sequel to the original animated series.
A direct sequel,
Directly.
picking up where it left off, pretty much.
Yeah. So, and they're not messing around with the timeline either.
Right.
They're jumping way ahead.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So we're not dealing with these characters as kids anymore.
Right. Yeah.
We're looking at late 20s, early 30s for Aang and the whole gang.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Katara, Sokotov.
Yeah, you're talking about like a
Yeah.
whole new set of challenges and experiences for them at that stage of life.
It is, and it's interesting because we did get to see glimpses of like where they ended up
Yeah.
in the Legend of Korra.
Right.
Right.
Which, takes place several decades later.
Exactly.
But this period in between, I think, is really ripe for exploration.
Absolutely.
Like, how did they get to that point?
Yeah.
What were those intervening years like?
What were those like formative years, as young adults, like finding their place in the world after,
Absolutely.
And
Like,
yeah.
how do you go from saving the world to,
Right.
like, what do you do next,
what do you do with the rest of your life?
It's gotta be.
It's a big question.
It's gotta be tough.
Yeah. So we're talking about this movie. We actually have a title from the Von Bunduk Dan excerpt.
Oh, okay.
It's officially called The Legend of Aang,
hmm
The Last Airbender.
Okay, so they're really sticking with that core,
Yeah, keep it simple.
that core legacy.
As far as a release date, we're looking at January 2026.
Okay.
KinoCheck says January 20th.
All right.
Von Bunduk Dan says January 30th.
So
Oh.
we're in the ballpark there.
Yeah, we're somewhere in that last week of January.
Yeah, gotta be exciting for fans. I mean, it's a few years out, but
Yeah, but I mean, at least it's on the calendar.
at least it's something to look forward to, right?
Exactly. Okay, so we talked about it's a sequel
Right.
to the animated
Yeah.
series. It is not connected to the live-action Netflix adaptation.
No connection there.
And as far as the story goes, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
There's a couple things here. One, Kinocheck suggests that we might see more about the formation of the United Republic of Nations,
Ooh.
which, if you remember, is a huge part of the Legend of Korra.
Right. Yeah, it's where Republic City is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Like this kind of merging of the four nations into this one.
Right. It was Aang's
Yeah.
big kind of like legacy project.
Exactly. So to see how that actually came to be.
Like the early days of that, how it all started.
Yeah, I'd be really fascinated.
Who was for it? Who was against it?
Totally.
How did they overcome those obstacles?
And you've got all these different cultures trying to blend together. I mean,
Exactly. And you think about the world they were coming out of,
Yeah.
like 100 years of war.
Yeah.
There's got to be a lot of like
Yeah.
mistrust and tension there.
Yeah. So how did they overcome that?
Right.
Von Bunduk Dan also says that the movie intends to explore the untold adventures
Okay.
of Aang and his friends, like as they're transitioning into adulthood. So not just like the big political stuff, but also their personal journeys,
Yeah.
like how they're growing and changing as people.
Yeah. What are they dealing with? What are they facing?
Right. And I think at that age too, late 20s, early 30s,
Yeah.
you're still figuring so much out
Totally.
about yourself, about your relationships, about
Your place in the world.
your place in the world. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they tackle all that.
Yeah. And I wonder if like, are there going to be like leftover threats,
Yeah.
from the war?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Or are they going to be facing like totally new things that they never even imagined before?
Right. Like maybe some kind of internal strife
Yeah.
or some kind of new enemy that emerges.
Or maybe it's more personal, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's about like
Relationship drama.
relationships or just figuring out who they are.
Just the challenges of growing up.
Totally.
And how do you stay true to yourself?
Yeah.
when the world keeps throwing new things at you.
Right. I think that's something everyone can relate to.
Absolutely. Yeah, so a lot to unpack there, and I think we'll get some more hints as we go through the rest of the stuff.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what else we find.
Okay, so visually, this is a big change.
Okay.
So the original series obviously was all 2D animation.
Right. Classic 2D.
But this new movie, they're switching things up a bit.
Okay. How so?
Kinechek says they're planning to incorporate more CGI. So
Interesting.
it's going to be a blend of the classic 2D with like 3D elements.
So kind of like a hybrid approach.
Yeah, kind of like a hybrid approach. And they actually compared it to Attack on Titan,
Oh, okay.
which I think has done a pretty good job
Yeah.
of merging those two styles.
was pulled it off pretty well.
So I'm curious to see how it'll look in the Avatar world.
Yeah, because the 2D style of the original series is so iconic.
Yeah.
You know, it's so distinct and expressive. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how they maintain that spirit.
Yeah. How do you keep that while still bringing in these new elements? Exactly.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge for sure.
Definitely something to watch for.
Okay, so speaking of changes,
Right.
big casting news.
Okay, let's hear it.
So this is for the original English version.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have new voice actors for Aang, Katara, and Toph.
Oh, wow. So it's a pretty big shakeup there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Aang is going to be voiced by Eric Nam.
Okay.
Katara is going to be voiced by Jessica Matt.
All right.
And Toph is going to be voiced by Dion Kwan.
Oh, okay. Well, those are some big shoes to fill.
They are huge shoes to fill.
Yeah, those characters are so beloved.
Yeah.
And their original voices are so iconic.
I know. I'm so used to those voices, so it's going to be a change.
It's going to be a little jarring at first, I think.
Sure.
But I'm also kind of excited to hear
Yeah.
what these new actors bring to the roles.
Yeah. Maybe a fresh perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their own unique take on the characters.
One piece of good news, though, for fans of the original.
Okay.
Kinechek says that Prince Zuko is keeping his original voice actor,
Really?
Dante Basco.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great news.
So that's a sigh of relief.
Yeah, because he is Zuko. You know,
I know.
that voice is just so perfect for the character.
So yeah, I'm happy about that one.
Yeah, me too.
We also have the voice of the antagonist.
Okay, who's it going to be?
Both Kinechek and Van Bundukdan say that it's David Bautista.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
So
He's got a really commanding presence.
he does.
So I could see him being a pretty intimidating villain.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what he does with the role.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is shaping up to be a really interesting cast.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's move behind the scenes a little bit
Right.
and talk about the creative team.
Okay.
This is huge news.
All right.
The original creators, Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko,
Oh, wow.
they're back
That's huge.
as writers for this movie.
Okay, so they're really involved.
Yeah, and you know, this is especially significant
Yeah.
because remember, they left the Netflix live action series.
Right. Yeah, they had some creative differences there.
They did. Yeah,
Right.
over creative differences.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're back for this,
Yeah.
I think really shows their dedication to the animated side of things.
Yeah, they clearly believe in this project.
Yeah.
And they want to make sure it's done right.
Yeah, they're really focused on the fundamental values of the original series.
Well, that's got to be reassuring for fans.
It is.
To know that the original creators are back at the helm,
Absolutely.
guiding the story.
We also have the directors,
Okay, who are they?
Lauren Montgomery and William Mata.
All right.
Montgomery actually has some experience with the Avatarverse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she worked on both of the animated series,
Okay.
and she also worked on Voltron Legendary Defender.
All right.
Mata brings his own experience in animation and storytelling.
So a good blend of experience there.
Yeah, I think so.
You've got someone who knows the Avatar world inside and out,
Right.
and then someone who can bring a fresh perspective. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good combination.
The Van Bun Dukthon excerpt also mentions Kenneth Lin
Okay.
as another writer on the project.
All right.
Okay.
So they've got a solid team of writers there.
Yeah, they've got a good team.
Yeah.
And then the animation itself is being handled by Australian-European studio Flying Bark Productions.
Okay. I'm not familiar with them,
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with them either, but
but I'm sure they have the experience.
they must have something
Yeah.
to get this job right.
To be entrusted with this
Exactly.
beloved franchise.
Okay, so we've talked about the movie itself.
Right.
The story, the anime, the voice actors, the creative team. But here's where it gets really exciting.
Okay. Lay it on me.
This is not just one movie.
Oh.
Kinechek says it's the first of 3.
Wow, a trilogy.
A trilogy, yeah.
That's amazing.
New animated movies that are planned.
That's a lot of Avatar to look forward to.
It is so much Avatar. I know, I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is great news for fans.
It means we're going to be spending a lot more time in this world
Yeah.
with these characters.
Yeah.
I love it.
And they even gave us hints about what the other movies might be about.
I really. Wow.
So the second movie
Uh-huh.
might focus on a now grown up Fire Lord Zuko.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been wanting to see that.
Yeah, Zuko is such a great character.
Yeah.
And his arc is so compelling.
Yeah.
So to see what he does
Yeah.
as Fire Lord,
As an adult, yeah.
yeah, that would be amazing.
And then the third movie is slated to be about Korra.
Oh, okay. So they're really kind of bridging the gap between the two series.
Yeah, they're filling in those gaps.
Which is smart because Korra already has her own series.
Right.
That takes place 70 years after the original.
Exactly.
So this is a way to kind of connect everything together.
Yeah, and tell more stories in that world.
Yeah, I'm really liking this plan.
You too.
It's very ambitious,
It is.
but it's also really exciting.
Yeah, and it's not just a pie in the sky idea either.
Oh, right.
Production on this first movie is already underway.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so it's happening.
Yeah, it's not just talk.
Yeah.
It's actually in motion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, that was a lot of information.
It was a lot, yeah.
But let's try to sum it up for everyone.
Okay.
So the big takeaway is we have a new animated movie coming out in January 2026.
All right.
It's called The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender.
Keeping it simple
Yeah.
and classic.
And it's going to feature older versions of our favorite characters.
Yeah.
They're going to be in their late 20s, early 30s.
So grown-up problems.
Grown-up problems, exactly.
Grown-up adventures.
We're going to see a blend of 2D and CGI animation.
Interesting.
I've got some new voice actors for some of the characters, but Dante Basco is back as Zuko,
That's great.
which is awesome.
That's what I wanted to hear.
And the original creators,
Yeah.
Michael Dante DeMartino and Brian Konietzko, they're back as writers.
That's a huge plus.
It is huge.
That gives me a lot of confidence in this project.
You too.
Yeah.
So, and to top it all off, this is just the first movie in a planned trilogy.
Wow.
So we might get movies about Zuko and Korra in the future.
That's a lot to look forward to.
So much to look forward to.
Yeah.
So yeah, now you've got a good idea of what to expect from this movie.
Yep. And I'm sure there are going to be more details coming out
I'm sure there will be.
in the months and years ahead. So
Oh, yeah.
we'll have to keep our eyes peeled.
We'll definitely have to revisit this.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, I want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
Given this time jump
Yeah.
and the creator's focus on those fundamental values of the original series, what are you most hoping to see
Ooh, good question.
explored or revisited in this new movie? What really resonated with you from the original show
Yeah.
that you'd be excited to see again in this kind of more mature?
More mature setting, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of potential there
There is,
to really delve into these characters
Yeah.
in a new way.
like in a deeper way.
Yeah, explore their complexities, their flaws, their growth.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they do.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see where they take this universe.
Me too.
The Avatar universe is so rich
Yeah.
and there's so many stories to tell.
And I think they're in good hands.
I think so too.
You know, with the original creators back
Yeah.
and this talented team they've assembled,
Yeah.
I'm feeling really optimistic about it.
Me too.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be something special.
I think so too.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too.
We'll have to revisit this when we get some more information.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, this was fun.
All right. We'll see you next time.
See you later.